I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on System of Linear Equations. We have 10 test questions, word problems, which will be solved using the elimination method. You can always solve them with substitution method also. Question number 1 is, white vinegar is a solution of acetic acid in water. There are two strengths of white vinegar, a 5% solution and a 10% solution. How many milliliters of each solution must be mixed to make 60 milliliter of 9% acetic acid solution? You can always pause the video and answer these questions. Here is my way of doing it. I prefer to illustrate the given information of a mixture type problem as shown here. Now this method is very useful and can be adopted to any mixture problem. So you have two which are being mixed to provide what is required, correct? The ones which we have are solutions which are 5%. So when I say 5%, it means 0.05 in decimals, right? So that is the strength. And let us say the quantity is X, right? For the other one, it is 10%. So 10% I'll write as 0.10. So percent being converted to decimals, right? Let us say Y of this is being mixed together. So what you get here is a quantity which is X plus Y, right? But we are given that, in fact, we need to find how many milliliters of each, that is X and Y, must be mixed to make 60 milliliters. So we want this to be 60 milliliters of 9%. 9% is 0.09, right? So whenever we have 5%, right? So we have 5%. It means we have to write 5 over 100. So that is 0.05, which I am writing here. So I hope that is clear, right? Now let us see how to form equations from this given information. So that is very important to understand. Now one equation clearly is that the total amount X plus Y is 60, right? So we get one equation which is X plus Y equals to 60. Since we want to make 60 milliliters of total. The second one we can get using the strengths. 5% of X, 10% of Y will give us 9% of 60 ml, right? So 5% of X can be written as 0.05 of X plus 0.10 of Y will give us 90% of 60 milliliters, right? So 90% is 0.90 of 60 ml, right? So we know X and Y when added gives you 60 ml. So that is how you get your equations. Now let's number these equations. Let's call this first equation, right? And this one as our second equation. Now how can we eliminate one of these variables? Well, if I multiply my first equation by 0.10, then we get the same coefficient for Y, right? And we can eliminate, right? So let's do that. So multiplying the first equation by 0.10 gives us 0.10x plus 0.10y, which should be equal to 60 times 0.10, right? Now 0.9 times 60 is 5.4. Just multiply. 5 times 9 times 6 is 54. I can write this as 5.4. And I can write this as 6.0. Clear? So we get these two equations. Let's call this equation as equation number 3. Now, we can eliminate Y by taking away equation number 2 from 3. So if you do that, then 0.10 take away, let's write 0.10x minus 0.05x. These two quantities cancel, gives you 6.0 minus 5.4. Clear? So that is how you get your equation. Now we can always solve this equation and find our answer, right? So what we get here is 0.10 minus 0.05. Let's take it on this side. Gives us 0.05x is equal to 6.0 minus 5.4 is 1.6, right? Or 0.6. So you have to borrow from 1. This you get 5 minus 5 is 0, 0.6. So we get x equals to 0.6 divided by 0.05, or you can say 60 divided by 5, which is 12. So we get the value of x as 12. So we know this 5% of acetic acid is 12 milliliters, right? Now how much is y? So we can use this value of 12 in our equation number 1 and then figure out that y should be equal to 60 minus x, which is 60 minus 12, or is equals to 48 milliliters. Clear? So we can now write down our answer, which is we need 48 milliliters of y and 12 milliliters of x. So our answer here is we have 12 milliliters of 5% and 48 milliliters of 10% solution. Is that clear to you? So that is how it can be solved. So I hope all the steps are clear. Let's move on and take the second question now. Question number 2. The area of a rectangle reduces by 160 meters square if its length is increased by 5 meters and width is reduced by 4 meters. However, if the length is decreased by 10 meters and width is increased by 2 meters, then the area is decreased by 100 meters square. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So let's begin with the one rectangle with, let us say that the length is L and width is W, right? So in that case, the area is equal to length times width, right? So that is given to us. Now what we are saying here is that area of the rectangle reduces by 160 meters square if length is increased by 5. So we get an equation, length increased by 5 and width reduced by 4. Width reduced by 4. Area of the rectangle is reduced by 160. So it was earlier length into width, right? It was earlier length into width. Take away 160. Does it make sense? So that becomes the first equation for you, right? You can always rearrange this equation, right? So we can just multiply and open this. So we get length times width plus 5 times width minus 4 times length minus 20 equals to length times width minus 160, right? So in this equation, length times widths cancel. What you're left with is 5 times width minus 4 times length equals 2. Taking minus 20 on the other side gives us minus 160 plus 20, or minus 140. So that becomes one of your equations. So we'll call this as our equation number 1. Second condition is, however, if the length is decreased by 10, that means length minus 10, and width is increased by 2, width plus 2, the area decreases by 100 meters square. So area becomes minus 100. So it is length width minus 100, right? So that's what you get. Now we can again expand it. Let me multiply with L both the terms first. So we get length width plus 2L minus 10W minus 20 equals to length width minus 100, right? So length width and length width, that product cancels. We get 2L minus 10W equals to, taking minus 120 to the right side, we get minus 80. Is that clear to you? So we did minus 100 plus 20 to get the second equation. So now we have these two equations, equation 1 and equation 2. How do we eliminate one of these variables? We need to find the dimensions. So what we can do here is, let us say we want to eliminate the length part, right? That is easier. We can multiply 2 by 2, right? So what we will do here is we'll multiply our equation number 2 by 2 and rewrite. So if I multiply this by 2, I get 4L plus minus 20W. So when I multiply this by 2, we get 4L minus 20W equals to minus 160. We already have the other equation, which is minus 4L plus 5W equals to minus 140. Now we can eliminate L by adding them up, right? So if you add them up, you get minus 15W equals to 300, correct? So the width basically is 300 divided by 15, correct? Which is equal to 20. So width is 20 for us. We can now find the length using width as 20 in any one of our equations, correct? So let's sub W equals to 20 in, let us say, equation number 2. So substituting 20 in equation number 2, we get 2 times length minus 10 times 20 equals to minus 80, or 2 times length equals to minus 80. So we get minus 80, and that is 200, right? So plus 200. So we get 2 times length equals to, when you take away 80 from this, you get 120. So the length is 120 by 2, which is 60. The units are in meters, right? So units are in meters. So we get our answer that length equals to 60 meters and width equals to 20 meters. Is that clear to you? So that is how we can actually solve such a question. So I hope the steps are absolutely clear. Now let's take question number 3. Question number 3. The age of father is twice the sum of ages of his 2 children. After 20 years, his age will be equal to sum of the ages of his children. Find the age of father. So we can start with let statement. We can say let father's age be F and sum of children's age be, let us say, C, right? So C is the sum of ages. Does it make sense to you, right? So from the first condition, which is age of father is twice the sum of ages, that means we get one equation, which is age of father is twice C, correct? C is the sum of ages of 2 children. Okay. Now, the scenario is after 20 years. What happens after 20 years? After 20 years, father's age will be F plus 20, right? And children? Children's sum we have to take, right? So earlier it was C. Each child will increase by 20 years, right? So that becomes after 20 years. Now it says After 20 years, his age will be equal to the sum of the ages, right? So after 20 years, we are saying f plus 20 is equal to c plus 20 plus 20, right? So we get f plus 20, 20 we can take on the other side, is equals to c plus 20, right? So 40 minus 20. Is that clear to you? So we get two equations, which is like c plus 40, right? So when you take away 20 from 40, you get 20. So we get our equation number 1 and equation number 2. Now, we are actually using the method of elimination to find f. So how do we eliminate c? To eliminate c, I will this time multiply the second equation by 2. So when I multiply the second equation by 2, I get 2f equals to 2c plus 40. Is that clear? So we get our equation number 3. Now, if I do equation number 3 minus equation number 1, right? So we are now taking away from this equation the first equation to get the father's age, since we want to only find the age of father, right? You could find by eliminating f first, child's age, and then multiply by 2. That is also correct. Is that okay? But I have taken it the other way, slightly more complicated. Right, so when you take away the difference, you get father's age will be 2c, 2c cancel, you are left with 40, right? So that is your answer. Is that okay? So therefore, father's present age is 40 years. Correct? Alternately, you could have found sum of children's age first, right? You could have done that by eliminating by doing 1 minus 2, right? Let me do that. Alternate. Alternately, we could have done equation 1, take away equation 2. In that case, we get 0 equals to father age cancel. 2c minus c is c minus 20, right? Or c is equals to 20. And then we can place c20 into 1. Then we can sub c equals to 20 in 1, right? So we get f equals to 2 times 20, which is 40. So that is also correct, right? So that is how you could do it. Let's move on and take question number 4. Question number 4. 8 men and 12 boys can finish the piece of work in 10 days, while 6 men and 8 boys can finish it in 14 days. Find the time taken by 1 man alone to complete the job. So we need to find time taken by 1 man. So let it be x days. So x days for a person alone, right? Or we can say y days for 1 boy, right? To complete the job. Right, so these are the variables defined. Now in such questions, we really need to find the rate, right? So what is the rate of work? So we need to find the rate. That is kind of very important. Rate means per day. That is what it means. So when we are saying the total job is completed in X days, so in 1 day how much? So the rate for a man is basically 1 over X, right? And rate for a boy will basically be 1 over Y. So this should be understood very clearly, right? So that helps us to get the equation. 8 men and 12 boys can finish a piece of work in 10 days. So in 1 day how much? 1/10, right? So from the first statement, we get our equation as 8 men, 1 day work. So 8 over X plus 12 over Y is equal to 1 over 10. So we get our equation for 1 day work. So in 1 day, 1/10 of the work is done, right? 8 men will do 8 times 1 over 6 and 12 boys will do 12 times 1 over Y of the work. And we get our equation number 1. Do you see that part, right? So that is how you get this equation. Second equation is very similar to this. While 6 men and 8 boys, so 6 men and 8 boys can do it in 14 days. So 1 over 14. Is that clear to you? So we get two equations. Now, how do we eliminate? We need x, we want to eliminate y. Let's go for multiplication. So what we will do here is we'll multiply the first equation by, let's say 2. It becomes 24 and the second by 3. Is that clear to you? So if I multiply the first equation by 2, I get 16 over x plus 24 over y equals to 2 over 10. The second equation by 3 gives me 18 over x plus 24 over y equals to 3 over 40. Is that clear to you? Now this is a very critical way of doing it, right? And very important to understand. So we times each equation by different numbers to get the same coefficients for 1 over y. Correct? So we get second set of equations. Let's call them as equation number 3 and 4. And now what we can do is we can take away one from the other. So if I do equation 4 minus equation 3, then what do I get? So this minus this. So we 18 minus 16 over x. These cancel. And here we get 3 over 14 minus 2 over 10. So that is 2 over x equals 2. Let's cross multiply, right? So we get 30 minus 28 over 140, right? Which is 2 over 140. So that gives you the value of x, just cross multiply, equals to 140. Do you see that part? So we could easily solve this equation using ratios and cross multiplication. So idea is to solve this by ratio and then cross multiplication. So that's a very important strategy. So we can now say one man can complete the job in 140 days. Right? Now let's take question number 5. Question number 5 is, Milton and Brampton are 80 kilometers apart on a highway 401. A car M starts from Milton and another car B starts from Brampton at the same time. If they move in the same direction, they meet in 8 hours. And if they move in opposite direction, they meet in 1 hour 20 minutes. Find the speed of each car. Well, let's sketch the scenario. So let's say that's the highway. Milton and Brampton. Let's say this is Milton and this is Brampton. And they are given to be 80 kilometers apart. Okay. Now if a car M starts from Milton and another at B starts at Brampton at the same time, they move in the same direction, they meet 8 hours. Okay. So that means if one car starts from here, so it goes much faster, right? So, and they meet at the same time. These are the two distances covered, right? Okay. So this time t is given to us as 8 hours. Okay, let's find the equation for this. Let's define our variables. We need to find speed of car. So let's say let speed of car be, let's say M and B respectively. I mean M from Milton, B for Brampton. Is it okay? Right. Now, how much is the distance traveled in 8 hours? So for Milton car, it will cover distance will be how much? Let's see the distance now. So for Milton car, which moves at M speed, in 8 hours, it will be 8M, right? And for Brampton car will be 8B. So that is the distance. So this is the distance. So distance covered will be by each in 8 hours will be what? Will be 8 times the speed, which is m, and 8 times b respectively. Is that correct? Since distance is speed into time, right? So remember this triangle. So we know distance is speed into time. So we know time is 8 hours, speed is m and b. So 8m and 8b. Now from here clearly you get one equation. And what is that equation? The equation which you get is that the difference between the two, that is 8m minus 8b, is 80 kilometers. Is that clear to you? Very interesting equation, right? So no fractions involved, very simple. Distance covered with the faster car will be 8m and with the slower car will be 8b, and the faster car covers 80 kilometers more, right? So that is how you get your right equation. The second one, if they are traveling in the opposite direction. Now let's see the second scenario. So in the second scenario, this is your Milton car, this is Brampton car. They are traveling in the directions opposite. They meet somewhere here. Okay. Now, in that case, they meet in 1 hour 20 minutes. So, okay, 1 hour 20 minutes is what? Means 1 hour 20 over 60, right? Which is 1 hour 2 over 3. Or you can write this as, 1 over 3, right? So that can be simplified and written as 4 over 3 hours. Is that clear? So now the time is 4 over 3 hours. So 1 hour 20 minutes is basically 4 over 3 hours, right? So the distance covered is how much this time? It will be, this distance is 4 over 3 of m, and this is 4 over 3 of b, right? That is the distance covered. Sum of this distance is 80 because the total is 80, right? So we get 4 over 3m plus 4 over 3b equals to 80. So we get our second equation. Is that clear to you? Right? 4 over 3m plus 4 over 3b equals to 80. Now if I multiply by 3 over 4, the second equation, right? So we could write this as m plus b equals to 80 times 3 over 4. Or that goes 20, right? So we get 2 times 360. Is that clear? 3/4 of 80. So we get second equation modified as 3. So we just multiplied all the terms by 3 over 4. We got this equation, right? In the first equation, I could divide by 8. Right, so this could be written as, let me rewrite, m minus b equals to, dividing by 8 gives you 10. We'll call this as our equation number 4. So we kind of simplified both equation 1 and 2. Dividing the first equation by 8 gave us m minus b equals to 10. Multiplying the second equation by, so we divided this by 8 and we times this by 3 over 4. Do you see that? To get simplified equation. Now we can eliminate and find the answer. So let's do it. So if I do equation 4 plus 3, so if I add these two equations, 4 m minus b equals to 10 and m plus b equals to 60. If I add them, I get 2m equals to 60 plus 10, right, which is 70. So m is equals to 70 over 2, which is 35 kilometers per hour, right? And if I take away one from the other, right, so if I take away, or now we can write, since we got one value, m, we can find what b is. So b is equals to 35. We substitute b here, right? Minus 10, which is 25. Correct? So from here we can find what b is. So we know we can find b from here or on the other place, either way. So we get our answer as b equals to 25. So the speed of the car will be the one from Milton. So speed m is equals to 35 kilometers per hour and b is 25 kilometers per hour. Is that clear to you? So that is how we are going to solve it. So I'd like you to have a good look at it. So in this small space, actually, I have combined many steps, but I hope you understand how we have solved it. So initially, we got our equation that the difference in the distance traveled is 80. In the second, the sum of distance is 80, right? That helped us to find the solution of the given equation. Now let's take a break here, and after the break, we'll solve the next 5 questions based on linear systems, and method will be elimination. I hope things are absolutely clear. Feel free to write your comment, share your views, and if you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Thanks for watching and all the best.